Michael Haig's favorite Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales. The Snow Queen. The Snow Queen. First story. The Mirror and the Broken Pieces. All right, now we're going to begin. When we come to the end of the story, we shall know more than we do now, for he was a bad goblin. He was one of the very worst, for he was the devil. One day he was in a very good humor, for he had made a mirror that had this peculiarity. Everything good and beautiful that was reflected in it shrunk into almost nothing, while all that was worthless and ugly was magnified and looked even worse than before. The most lovely landscapes looked like boiled spinach, and the nicest people looked hideous, or stood on their heads and had no bodies. Their faces were so distorted that no one would know them, and people's freckles spread all over their noses and mouths. That was most amusing, said the devil. When a good or pious thought passed through anyone's mind, it was shown in the mirror in such an ugly way that the devil chuckled at his cleverness. All who went to the goblin school, for he ran a goblin school, declared it was a miracle. For at last, they asserted, one could see for the first time how the world and the people in it really looked. They ran to the ends of the world with the mirror, until at last there was not a country or a person that had not been seen distorted in it. Next, they wanted to fly up to heaven with it, to scoff at the angels and the Lord himself. The higher they flew with the mirror, the worse it grinned until they could scarcely hold it. Higher and higher they flew, nearer to God and the angels, and then the mirror trembled so much that it slipped out of their hands and fell to earth, where it shattered into 100 million billion splinters, or perhaps even more. That caused a greater misfortune than before, for some of the splinters were no bigger than a grain of sand, and were scattered all over the world. Whenever they flew into anyone's eye, they stuck there and made the person see everything distorted, for every fragment had retained the same power as the whole mirror. Some people even got a tiny splinter of the mirror in their hearts, and that was terrible, for such a heart became a block of ice. A few pieces of the glass were so large that they were used as window panes, but it was bad to look at one's friends through these panes. Other pieces were made into glasses, and when people put on these glasses to see correctly and fairly, things went all wrong. Then the evil one laughed till his pouch shook. It delighted him so. But some fragments of glass still floated in the air.